Tigers make 3 costly errors, and it leads to a loss at the hands of the Texas Rangers. We break it down where it all went wrong next on this edition of Locked On Tigers POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And away we go on this edition of Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. My name is Jake Riepma. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of the Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. A tough one at the ballpark today. Tigers fall to the Texas Rangers by a score of 5-4, and it wasn't the offense in some senses to blame like it has been as of late. It was the defense, which is so uncharacteristic, which is why we're going to talk about those costly errors. We'll also break down Tarik Skubal. Solid start. I'm sure if you ask him, and he's probably saying in the postgame right now, he can do a little bit better, but some encouraging components to the offense as well. They showed some signs of life. But before we go any further, today's show is made possible by FanDuel. And with FanDuel, you got to make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Now, the costly errors, because this is a Rangers team that is too good to give 3 errors to. And this is a Tigers defense that is too good to allow this to happen and for this to be the reason that you lose. And I don't want to say the reason to lose, but more along the lines of not the reason you lost, but the reason. Let me just make sure my mic settings are right here as I stumble along. There we go. How about that, sports fans? We're locked and loaded, ready to go now. But the error by Torkelson is going to be the one that jumps out, right? I mean, in a tie ball game, you allow that man to reach, and eventually that's the reason that the go-ahead run comes in to score, and the reason that it's an L in the column instead of a win. Because the errors that were made essentially led to the undoing of this Tigers bullpen, and the defense let the pitching staff down in this one. And that's just the complete reverse of the identity of what this team is built on. And it's the complete opposite. And I understand things are going to happen, but it almost was like an omen the way the game began with Skubal's error in the first batter of the game. You know, you look at that as almost a microcosm of what was about to unfold at Comerica Park the rest of the day. And I know instant reaction pieces, we're going to look back on this. There's 162 games of the season, and right now it's fresh in our mind. But when the game starts with an error, and then you have Colt Keith boot a ball, that there's no excuse for that error that he made. And then, of course, the Spencer Torkelson error on the ground ball. Those are 3 errors, all of which came around to score, and that's the difference of the game. I think we could end the show there, and you look at this game, 5-4 final. Tigers make 3 errors. All 3 of them come around to score, and on a day that the offense wasn't egregiously bad, a day that Javi Baez gets a clutch RBI single, we have to talk about how bad the defense was and the fact that it let the Tigers down. But such is life in Major League Baseball. Again, try not to get too high, too low, but it was a golden opportunity to take the 3rd game of the series and give yourselves a chance to go 3 out of 4 against the defending World Series champions. And all that is for none as the Tigers drop this one 5-4. But appreciate everybody tuning into this edition of our Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Every subscriber counts. We certainly appreciate that because it doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out a great deal as we continue to build this audience. And a reminder, too, check out Locked On Tigers all week long with Scotty Bentley, bringing you the wall-to-wall coverage on the Detroit Tigers, with me bringing you the wall-to-wall coverage, post-game reaction style. And this one, 5-4 the final, and the Tigers with the loss, now 10-8 on the season. You look at I just think you can chalk this up as a missed opportunity because the perceived strength of this team is the defense. And I mean, obviously the pitching staff. And it was a day that that Spencer Torkelson, that Tarik Skubal didn't pitch like the Cy Young candidate he might be, but you still had a chance to win this game. The offense made some plays, but when it came down to crunch time in that ninth inning to make that costly error, the Rangers, albeit not playing at full strength, they're banged up, but they're too good of a team to give multiple innings, multiple additional outs. And I'm going to harp on a 3-error performance. You didn't deserve to win. And that's what makes this one so difficult to swallow, especially on a day where there were a lot of good things. There were a lot of things that aren't normally what we're talking about with this team, other than the fact that the offense came alive. Well, I shouldn't say came alive, but they scored a run in the 8th to tie it up. And to take the lead. And so all of that is going to be lost on the fact that the Rangers stole this one at the very end with that run in the 9th inning. Javi Baez's single tied it up there in the 8th. So 5-4 the final in this one. The defense, I don't know if it's a matter of uncharacteristic mistakes, because we know that this team was the top defensive team in Major League Baseball coming in by way of defensive efficiency. So I don't think it's the type of game where you sound the alarms and say, all of a sudden we've got a terrible defense. I just think it was a bad day defensively at the ballpark. And if you're a member of that Tigers team, these days are going to happen, but it's just so frustrating that when it came on a day in which that proved to be why you lost this game. And it wasn't the offense. It wasn't any other reason. There's an L in the column besides the fact of the matter is there were the 3 costly errors. So with that said, I think you clean up the defense, you continue to battle, and make no mistake about it, this team did battle. They were in situations throughout the course of this game where they could very easily have, I don't want to say quit, but, packed it in and, we'll try and go for the series split tomorrow. But after the Rangers 3-run 6th inning, the Tigers were able to chalk up a run in the bottom of the 6th, one more in the bottom of the 7th, and then the Javi Baez tying single in the 8th. And you felt like with this team's late inning heroics, the bullpen, when they tied that game in the bottom of the 8th inning, I really felt like this was going to be a momentous win. You get a chance, you take 2 of the first 3, you get a chance to go for 3 out of 4 tomorrow, but instead it was the defense that led to the ultimate demise in losing this game. So final score 5-4. We're going to continue breaking down the pitching side of this for the Detroit Tigers, but impressive for the Rangers in the sense that they were the ones that got the runs late, capitalized on the Tigers' mistakes. Kirby Yates gets the win in this one, and he took it all the way home, pitching both in the 8th and completing it in the 9th. So happy to have you along for this edition of our Locked On Tigers postcast. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're checking us out on the audio-only version, we appreciate you listening or downloading wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Want to look ahead at Tarik Skubal and his, I know it's April, but it's fun to talk about a potential Cy Young candidate. So we will do that next, as well as break down where it went wrong with the bullpen. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. That's right. The most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is Prize Picks. And, spring training is over and baseball season is official. officially underway. The NBA and NHL playoffs are getting ready to go. So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond, from the ice, from the hardwood in your prize picks entries. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, slam dunks, alley-oops, slap shots, you name it, take your pick on more or less an entry to win today. That's right. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on a player's projected stat, and that's when the fun begins. You get in on the playoff action, win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as the world's best players take the game to a new level during the postseason. Prize Picks has something for every single sports fan, from baseball, basketball, to League of Legends, and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, and Judge Bellingham, all in the same entry. That's right. Prize Picks has hundreds and hundreds of combinations where you pick more or less, and it is far and away the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and that's what makes it the #1 daily fantasy sports app. But don't take my word for it. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Let me say that again in case you missed it. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's right. Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And they also offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account. How about that? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, today's show also made possible by Monopoly Go. That's right. The old twist on the classic game is now mobile. And if you're a competitive person like me, that is good news, because with our competitive side, we're big fans of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times, and it is a great twist on Monopoly, where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building amazing cities that bring you big time money. But the best part, it's messing with your friends. You can charge them rent on iconic properties, just like classic leaderboards show me the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just your competitive side that loves it. You can team up with your friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go right now, free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, Cy Young candidate Tarik Skubal did not have his best stuff today, but there was a portion of his start in which he was really, really locked in, and it was fun to watch because when he is in that groove, he's proving that there's nobody better in a Tigers uniform right now, and he's becoming that bona fide ace. I didn't love the way the game started. In fact, I got a little bit nervous there. If you run through the beginning of the game in the top of the first, obviously the Marcus Semien ground ball in which it was misplayed by Skubal. It was really just a bad throw that ultimately pulled Torkelson off the bag. So Semien reaches by way of an error, and then you've got the Corey Seager single to left, which was, some of that was a little bit of bad luck because of the way the defensive alignment was positioned behind Corey Seager that allowed him to single and find some room on the left side into left field. And then you had the walk to Langford, and it was a 4-pitch walk, which obviously, if you're keeping track at home, you had the bases loaded with nobody out, not the way you want to start a game with the first 3 batters reaching, but the only damage from there, a sacrifice fly. And after that, it really seemed like Skubal settled into, well, I take that back, because he hit Carter to begin the top of the second inning, and then he settled in. He induced the ground ball for the double play, got Tavares swinging, and after the 4th inning, it was interesting listening to the Rangers telecast. Sometimes it's fun just to get some perspective from the opposition's telecast. They talked about how he was working so efficiently with 49 pitches through just the 4 innings, and that comes in an inning in which the first 3 batters reached, and you had the bases loaded with nobody out, and was still able to be efficient enough to mow through that Rangers lineup with 49 pitches in just the first 4 innings. He was attacking early, a lot of first pitch strikes, And when you have kind of, I'll say, your ace on the mound, your horse in a game that you feel like you should win, you leave him on there. The offense wasn't able to do enough until late, but you go back to that inning in which the Rangers were able to put that crooked number up on the board in the 6th with the 3 spot. I hate to point the finger, but it's just got to be so deflating if you're Tarik Skubal and you're battling on the mound. You've got to the 6th inning, you've got the ball there, you get the weak ground ball off the bat of Marcus Semien, and it's just it's a boot by Colt Keith at second base. I mean, you watch it, and that's a play he makes 99 out of 100 times, but he didn't make it that time, which proved to be costly. And from there, that's when the Rangers offense kind of, used that momentum of the air to jump on the Tigers at that point. And I did think that Garcia double to right center was a home run initially off the bat, and it hit that yellow line. And with Comerica Park's fences being brought in, it kind of makes for and just kind of a different backdrop, because most ballparks you're going to see have the fence and the yellow line, and then either some space or bleachers or something that's a little bit more easy to differentiate between the exact same color wall, just taller like it is in right field. And so they took not a super long, but a lengthy review at the double by Garcia, and it was in fact off the yellow pad. So that was one less run, because if it's a home run, obviously he comes around to score. But a nice job by the Tigers to somewhat to battle back even after falling down by a score of 4-1, because you look at where that game was in the 6th inning when the Rangers go ahead 4-1. I'm making my notes. I'm thinking that's a wrap because of the way this offense has been. But lo and behold, they use a single run in the 6th, 7th, and 8th to tie this game back up. Now, the bullpen has been so good. It's been the strength of this team. It's been one of the best bullpens in all of the bigs. But today, they didn't necessarily have they did until they didn't, if that makes sense, because you look at that 3 spot in the 6th inning, now scoreless in the 7th and the 8th, but the 1 run in the 9th, albeit unearned, is what hurts the most, and obviously proved to be the difference in this one. So with that, the loss for the Tigers, former Ranger Shelby Miller, his first loss of the season. And I've never pitched in the big leagues, but Shelby Miller now 3-1, by the way. But the difficulty as a pitcher to give up that run by way of the air, and you feel like that was the deflating part for the Tigers when you look at the box score here, in the sense that this is a game that could have gone either way when it's tied late in the 9th inning, or tied in the 9th inning like that. And you have Miller come on, allows the 2 hits, and at the end of the day, ultimately the loss for the Tigers. So that said, I don't think it's a sound the alarm, panic. It'll be interesting to see what tomorrow brings in the 4th and final game of the series, but very curious your thoughts as well. So let me know down in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, because this is the type of game that the Tigers shouldn't lose. They're built to win these types of games. They're built to be the team that wins the back and forth low run games in which you need your bullpen and you need your defense to pick you up. And that just wasn't the case today, which makes it a little bit frustrating and more of a difficult pill to swallow than if, it's been like some of the games in the past where the offense doesn't show up, or, there's always going to be the games where your starter didn't have it. No, this was a game that, if you look back on games throughout the season where maybe you felt like one got away, this would certainly fall in that category. But we'll end it with some positives when we talk about this offense. But right now, I want to tell you all about the Locked On Draft Party that's coming up. That's right, it's Locked On's NFL Mock Draft live on April 17th at 7 o'clock, streaming on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on April 17th at 7 o'clock Eastern to hear who the local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL mock draft on April 17th at 7 Eastern, streaming live on Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. And that's right, we know the draft is happening in Detroit. How about that? Today's show is also made possible by FanDuel. That's right, it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's 150 buckaroos, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs and slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, I promised I'd say something nice about Javi Baez. So this is me saying something nice about Javi Baez. After all, he had the tying RBI single that made it a 4-4 game. And what I'll say that's nice about Javi Baez is way to take advantage of an egregious mistake by an opposing pitcher of throwing Javi Baez a first pitch strike. I think Jason Benetti said it on the telecast that he ambushed that pitch. And if you're a pitcher for the opposition, just don't ever throw him a strike. Just live low and away, and you'll be just fine. I think it is as simple as that. But in all seriousness, if Javi Baez can, and I don't want to make every single show Javi did this, Javi did that, but if he can produce some semblance of productivity from whatever position in the order he's hitting, he does play a good shortstop defensively. And my all caps tweet yelling at whoever would listen to DFA him after some of those egregious swings yesterday, maybe that was a little bit reactionary. And I do apologize, but sometimes you wear your heart on the sleeve when it comes to players like Javi Baez, and he just irks you. But good to see him get an RBI single to tie this game up at 4 and provide some life for the Tigers in that 8th inning. But additionally, worth noting that Kerry Carpenter bomb back in the 2nd inning was really impressive, especially when you consider that gale force wind. Okay, maybe it wasn't gale force, but heavy wind blowing in from right field, and it didn't matter for Kerry Carpenter. That's his 3rd home run of the season. And AJ Hinch talked about him getting some more opportunities against lefties, but he was then pinched. He was subject to a pinch hitter, Matt Vierling, late in the game instead of facing a lefty. So we'll see when those opportunities come against left-handed pitching for Kerry Carpenter. But he was able to register a home run. His only hit of the day, he was 1 for 5. I thought Torkelson had some nice at-bats. He had just the one hit, the double, but he barreled up a couple of balls that we haven't seen him been doing. One of them, Tavares, one of the better center fielders, defensively made a nice running catch, and we all know how much room is out there in Comerica National Park. But that said, if you took today's game from the offensive side of things, this is who the Tigers are. Now, you're not going to win a ton of games scoring just 4 runs, but based on the way this team is constructed, the way this team is built, you can win by scoring 4 runs. And it was almost like it was there for the taking, but the defense let them down. I don't want to continue to harp on that too many times, but the single run in the 2nd with the Carpenter home run that traveled over 420 feet, they clocked it at 426. You had Spencer Torkelson scoring on the Colt Keith throwing error, so it helps to get some help. Yeah, I mean, the defense that was played in today's game would make a Little League coach upset. I mean, we didn't even talk about that egregious error. I wrote it down in my notes here. When the throwing error in the bottom of the 6th by Corey Seager, it goes against Seager, but Duran's nonchalant approach to catching that ball at first base was, if I'm a Rangers fan, that's like the two-handed slam on the desk that I'm watching, or the screaming into the TV. Like, what are you doing? Could you show a little bit of effort? So that was fortunate for the Tigers to get a run there in the sixth. Talked about the Parker Meadows home run to right center. That one traveled 399 feet, his first of the season, third of his career. And maybe that bat can get going for the Tigers if Parker Meadows somehow finds a way. He was 1 for 3 on the day, and that lifts his average to 205. His average at 0.77. Oh boy, that's tough. Yeah, slugging percentage 205. I mean, you can't even say that out loud without a little bit of a chuckle. Jake Rogers still terrible at the plate. 0.91. I mean, these batting averages are egregious, but I know it's 2024. Who cares about batting average? But you look up. I mean, these guys aren't even hitting their weight, and it's maybe, and I know it's a long season, so I'll try not to get too down on the lack of offense, because I said this was going to be a positive segment, and then I pulled up the box score with the stats, and I just see how bad this offense is. So I'll find different ways to scream into the microphone about how bad this offense is, and I'll start with some positive. Javi Baez with an RBI single in the 8th, the home run from Kerry Carpenter, a couple of good at-bats from Spencer Torkelson. Parker Meadows hits his first home run of the season. And Parker Meadows, one of those guys, he's a lot bigger than maybe what he might look like on TV. And I know that sounds funny saying, but in part of the mechanics of the swing, being as big as he is, it's just he gets that extension. And today was a great example. If he can get extension and find one in the zone, though, he can do some damage and hit for power. It's just a matter of, I mean, if you ask Carlos Pena, it's the plate approach for all these guys. And I think there's certainly some stock in the lack of plate approaches or the inability to execute a plate approach by the majority of these Tigers hitters. But tomorrow will be interesting as we look ahead to tomorrow, because I know we're very, very focused in on the Tigers, but the pitching matchup tomorrow will be interesting. Kenta Maeda for Detroit, but Jack Lieter for the Texas Rangers is going to make his big league debut. That name should sound pretty familiar because he was the former 2nd overall pick out of Vanderbilt. Obviously, the Vanderbilt Commodores, a powerhouse in baseball. And in 2021, he was that 2nd overall pick. And for Jack Lieter just now making his big league debut in 2024, there's a lot of anticipation, more so obviously from the Rangers fan base, of what can this guy do. He was really, really good in AAA last year for Frisco. So seeing if he can harness that and take it to the big leagues, they could certainly use the lift. But big league debut and a very anticipated one for the Rangers rookie Jack Lieter, former 2nd overall pick out of Vanderbilt. So that will be fun to take in tomorrow. Of course, we'll have you covered with a Locked On Tigers postcast immediately following the conclusion of that game. Tigers need to get a W to at least split the 4-game series before the weekend series on the road in Minnesota at Target Field. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Oh, I got to do a fun fact of me and getting to know Jake Riepma, because I think we'll do this for maybe the next week or so, because I'm not that fun of a guy. I don't have that many fun facts, but I'll go with I began my sports broadcasting career as a play-by-play broadcaster for Northwood University women's basketball on the webcast. That's where it all began. Other play-by-play stops have included some professional tennis, as well as minor league baseball and the USPBL, Jimmy John's Field. That'll resonate for those around here. But play-by-play, nothing like it. Also love breaking down the Tigers here on the Locked On Postcast. So that's my fun fact for today. Also love play-by-play broadcasting. Should also add, I did a lot of play-by-play broadcasting in 2021, 2023 with Oakland University, who are now obviously famous after knocking off Kentucky and ending John Calipari's career at Kentucky, but was the play-by-play broadcaster for Oakland University women's basketball and was fortunate enough to do some men's games on the radio side when the games were on TV 20 there in Metro Detroit with the one and only Neil Rule, who would handle that, and I'd do the radio side of things. So all good stuff there. Love play-by-play broadcasting. That's one more fact about me as we get to know each other here on the Locked On Tigers postcast. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley throughout the week as well, and keep it here. Subscribe to the channel on Locked On Tigers postcast as well, or Locked On Detroit on YouTube. We'll put the link out there as well. And have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Tigers fall to the Rangers 5-4.